Hey guys, welcome to Crucial Wrestling. My name is Travis. This is my AEW Dynamite sort of review from May 8th, 2024. This won't be a traditional review. This is just sort of me watching the show. It's been a while since I've watched a full episode of Dynamite. And what I wanted to do was just be aware of my biases about AEW, talk about what I liked, what I didn't like. But anyway, without further ado, so and I want to be careful because I don't want to nitpick too much throughout the show. I just want to talk about what I really felt as I was watching it. So that's what I'm gonna do. So Adam Copeland is on screen when we first start. He's being asked about his match with Brody King, and 30 seconds in, he makes it a no DQ match. In other words, lazy booking. It doesn't make sense that the seasoned um, old timer professional wrestler would want to have a no DQ match that would actually benefit the less experienced, bigger guy. So why would you want that? I guess, unless maybe it's just I wanted an excuse to hit him with weapons, but you can do that in any match in AEW, and that's something I wanted to talk about. Is he announces this in a no DQ match, but I do have one question about that. Um, isn't every match in AEW a no DQ match? When do referees enforce rules in AEW? When are you not allowed to go fight outside or in the crowd or use weapons or throw your opponent through tables? When are you not allowed to do that in an AEW match? How many AEW matches stay inside the ring? How many AEW matches don't involve any sort of furniture at all, and are just a wrestling match where rules are enforced, and if you break them, you are disqualified or whatever, or the referee makes you get back into the ring before the 10 count or whatever. Almost never. I can't think of it. I can't think of any match that I've seen that really felt like there were rules being enforced. So this will kind of be a theme throughout some of this show tonight. But yeah, no DQ matches are not special. They don't mean anything in AEW because rules aren't really enforced in the first place. Orange Cassidy and Trent next. This is not going to be a blow by blow of anything. I may even pretty much skip whole matches. um, the crowd barely cared. I mean, this was really a no DQ, no holds barred, no rules match where they immediately go outside. And I know this is supposed to be some sort of hot angle, but when you watch and you listen to the crowd, it's like they're almost sort of applauding and booing at the appropriate times to be polite. And now this isn't a hardcore AEW audience. Like these people like AEW and want to be at an AEW show. There aren't really any casual fans left for the most part. Most of the people who watch AEW and go to AEW shows are hardcore AEW fans. And so for them to be sort of just, yay, boo, we booed because there was the time to boo. That's not great. That's not good. Um, Also, keep Statlander out of dumb angles that no one cares about. She is one of your few women that actually look like they could be a star. Like they could really hold their own in the ring, and she may be trainable, producible. She may be somebody who could become something in that company, but you've got to keep her away from stuff that's going to bring her stock down. So I don't understand why she has to be involved in this. You could easily keep her out and have her doing something much more valuable, um, even if it's just on the mic or whatever. Moving on. So Kenny Omega just appears on the screen from a hospital bed. They did announce before that he would be making a statement or something on the show. But I wanted to talk about this for a second. Kenny Omega is sort of the indie wrestling slash AEW fans goat, right? Like you could argue that there's one or two other people in that mix, but for most fans, he's sort of the goat. And it's so strange to me that they don't highlight him that way. They don't really build up to him. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to hear from Kenny Omega. They don't, they don't build him up as the guy or one of the guys or one of the pillars of this company in the show. And I don't know, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's like, whatever you feel about Kenny Omega, like him or hate him, he's clearly one of the guys. And in some cases, in some people's minds, he's the guy. And so why not do everything you can to present him as such? But here they just cut to him in a bed and he just starts talking. No introduction, nothing, just starts talking about stuff. He announces, and sorry to go into this again, but he announces the Anarchy in the Arena match with the Young Bucks slash the Elite, and FTR, and two partners of their choosing. And again, I ask you, what match in AEW is exempt from becoming an Anarchy in the Arena match? When is a match, or when are wrestlers not able to go outside for minutes on end of the ring and hit each other with all kinds of furniture and weapons and throw each other through tables, and fight through the crowd and through the arena and through the concourse and whatever else? When would that not be allowed in an AEW match? So why is this special? That was my big thought. Why is this special? This seems like it's going to be like every other match where there's no real rules being enforced and everybody can sort of just do what they want instead of actually working a crowd, working an angle, building heat until it doesn't matter where they are. They can be in the ring, and the fact that this person and this person or this group and this group are finally coming head to head and are gonna uh, go at each other, that you can tell that story in the ring without all the extra little bits to cover up the fact that some of you don't really know how to work. You may know how to do the moves, but that is not the same as working. Um, yeah, I just don't. I mean, I get it if I'm honest, which is this is what they do, and I think some of them don't know how to do anything other than this. Certainly not well. FTR certainly does, or certainly could. Danielson certainly does and certainly could. Um, but other than maybe the pop or the hope that people haven't gotten wise to this, is what they hope will sort of draw people into the pay-per-view. But yeah, I mean, am I wrong? Isn't every match a no DQ, Anarchy in the Arena, uh, no holds barred? I don't know. Name your Bloodline Rules match in AEW. Um, and don't get me wrong, WWE has its fair share of that. Most wrestling companies have their fair share of that, but AEW, it is consistent. It is pretty much every single match. There are no real enforced rules. So who cares? Why is it a big deal when you announce a match like this? Just like who cares when you announce Edge is gonna be in a no DQ match later on in the night? Moving on. Serena Deeb, all I'm gonna say about that is AEW, hide the negatives, accentuate the positives. Like there needs to be a focus on that. Let's hide the negatives, accentuate what these people do well. Let's light them well, frame them well, put them in settings that make sense for them and allow them to shine rather than exposes them. That's it. So Tony Storm comes out, who is one of the monster baby faces in AEW, right? So she comes out and she gets into it with Serena Deeb, who will be her opponent at the pay-per-view. And they trade bad words, which is just crazy on this show. I mean, they said bad words. And at the end of it, Tony Storm goes to hit Serena Deeb. Serena Deeb blocks. Serena Deeb punches Tony Storm. And so I will say this was funny. I laughed at this. She punches Tony Storm, and Tony just her lights are out. Like she is just out on her feet, and she just bam, just falls back, just takes this perfect pratfall straight on her, just flat back on the stage there. And it was funny. And it was, I don't know, it was one of the few interesting things on the show. However, this kind of highlights what I think sometimes is, or often is a problem, and I'm not sure if it's a problem here, but it may be. Uh, which is, did you need to inject comedy here? When audiences are dwindling and you're trying to build uh, to this match at the pay-per-view that you want people to buy, don't you kind of want to just build the tension and create heat for this rather than interjecting a comedy spot, which actually kills the heat? Now, I want to say two things about that. Those of you who are yelling at your screens or starting to type right now, yes, I understand that many wrestlers, many of the great wrestlers in the past, Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, Mick Foley, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, whoever, Terry Funk, uh, Jerry Lawler, introduced comedy or comedy bumps into their matches on occasion. In Flair's case, maybe more than on occasion. Um, but when you are building to a big match that you want people to buy into, invest in, ultimately buy the pay-per-view, they need to see it so much that they will buy this pay-per-view, or it will certainly be a part of why they buy a pay-per-view. Uh, is this, do you want to inject comedy like this? And this is a problem with AEW. It's like it's like they're so preoccupied with whether or not they can that they don't ask themselves if they should, right? It's the Jurassic Park line. It will be on AEW's tombstone. It's always, this would be funny, so let's do it. And no one in the room ever seems to ask, but should we? Now, I say all that, and I want to say that Tony Storm is great in this role. I don't know that this role or this character should be on this show or any professional wrestling show. Uh, but that being said, she is good at what she does. She actually stays in character. It makes sense within the little world that she has created, even if it doesn't make sense in the context of the wider show or the sport of pro wrestling in general. Uh, but the problem is everything is so poorly executed, poorly done, haphazard, inconsistent on the show that she at least is interesting, is funny. She brings a little bit of color and life to the show that is sometimes refreshing. And I just find it, kind of sad that we have to, that is what we look forward to in the show. And that's no hate on Tony Storm. She's doing a great job with it. Again, I just wonder if that's the kind of character that you want to be doing if you want to um, get people to buy in. But I don't know. I'm not trying to be too nitpicky. It's just AEW has a lot of comedy and a lot of winking at the audience. And I don't know that that's the way to really get people to buy in over time. Uh, so Mariah May and Harley Cameron had a match. I don't really care. I didn't really care at all. I just kept thinking the best performer, the best wrestler in this whole equation is walking around ringside. And I asked myself, how many matches has Saraya had in AEW since she came? And I don't know the answer to that. Maybe somebody will tell me, but it seems like she has been severely underused. And I understand there's been injuries and all that, but put her on the mic, put her on commentary, um, put her with somebody who is on the rise or somebody who is important or something so that she can be a mouthpiece for them. But someone who's actually going somewhere. Maybe make her like maybe make her the manager or something of one of the guys who you really want to feature. But right now she just feels lost and she's such a talent and it just seems like a waste, as does a lot in AEW. And this just highlighted that for me. Next we have the Bang Bang Gang who are walking down a dark hallway. They run into Pac, who's being interviewed by Renee, and they make fun of him for being in a dark hallway. So there's that. There was an Aleister Black promo. Next, he wants to bring Edge's darkness out of him, so he can be the best version of Edge, and he can join their little club. Again, so this is so indicative of AEW, right? Like almost every angle is either about we used to be friends, I want to bring out the best in you, or I want to be your dad. Right? Like that seems to be like the majority. You know how there's only like seven stories, in the world. Well in AEW there seems to be three. Uh, we used to be friends. I want to bring out the best in you, or your dad's dead, or I want to be your dad. That seems to be the three stories that AEW tends to tell. I'm being facetious, but only a little. Um, So that was that. Moving on. Christian and Swerve didn't really care. Christian went on and on. I like Christian. I like Swerve, okay, but I don't know, just wasn't interested in this. Just who cared? I didn't care when the Mogul Embassy attacked Swerve. What a swerve. Uh, the crowd sort of barely seemed to care. That's a theme throughout the night is the crowd sort of barely cared about what was going on. Then we find out that the Young Bucks were involved in this dastardly attack, or at least planning it or making it happen. Oh, Swerve does not need to be connected to the Young Bucks and what they're doing right now. That stuff is falling flat. No one seems to really care. They're not getting it over. Swerve needs to stay far, far away from the Young Bucks and the Elite and all of that. If she could be produced by professionals and giving something to actually sink her teeth into and talk about, Willow could be really special, I think. Willow could be really good. She's good on the mic. She doesn't have anything to talk about. She's just happy and whatever, but uh yeah, if we you could get real agents in there who knew what they were doing to really produce her, and a real story and an opponent to really kind of like chew the scenery with, I feel like Willow has something. What that is yet to be seen. But yeah, I think she could do well in the right environment. I feel like she doesn't stumble on the mic. She has a lot of confidence. You could tell she could have fire if given the um, right angle and issue. Um, but this so far is not it. So next is the Bang Bang Gang, a match for Jay White and Rocky Romero. And I will say this, the Bang Bang Gang's entrance is great. It's really cool. It's a really cool idea for an entrance. It looks great. I love it. Then the match happened. I didn't care. And of course, every match in AEW has to have an afterbirth, right? Something has to happen after the bell rings. And Pat came out and did his thing, and that was that. Jericho, I'll skip the match, get to the promo. The crowd is not sure how they feel about him. They're not sure what to think about Jericho, or whether or not to cheer him, boo him, or just be completely indifferent and not react at all. Uh, he's trying to play off and sort of play up a lot of the criticism that he gets online, and from podcasters and people like Jim Cornette and others. But, sort of like playing it up and playing into it and sort of trying to embrace it in a funny way, doesn't mean the criticism's not true. And people can see through that, I think. And so I don't know that he's helping his case as much as he thinks that he is. So the Adam Copeland match, I just want it to be over. I was at WrestleMania 27. I was at what many of us for years thought was Edge's last match. And while I certainly am glad that he has gotten healthy, that he's recovered from his injuries, that he's gotten whatever he needed to do to kind of be able to get back in shape again and not risk severe injury to himself, but I have not liked anything that he's done since he came back. I can't think of anything that I've liked. There's an approach to promos, an approach to matches, that he's developed as he's gotten older, that I just don't care for. It's not interesting to me. The match was okay. It's kind of exactly what you'd expect from an Adam Copeland no DQ match, and it was what it was. I hate saying that, but it was what it was. The Bucks and the Elite come out, and there's an overrun. And I don't understand why you can't cut some of the stuff that no one cared about throughout this show, to get everything in 2 hours, other than if you're just trying to, manipulate the ratings with an overrun, which may be exactly why they did it. But, but yeah, why can't you get this in 2 hours? There's not much happening on the show, and none of it really, very little of it meant anything. Yeah, so the Young Bucks come out, the Elite come out. They say words for a bit. FTR comes out. They reveal their partners, Kingston and Danielson. The crowd goes, "Yay!" Then they have a little schmoz there in the ring, and the crowd goes mild, uh, and it goes off the air. Yeah, so overall, the show, it was interesting. I think there was a lot of people, Osprey, Mercedes Monet, and others that were advertised for this show that didn't end up being on the show, and I'm not sure why that is. I haven't looked into that yet. Uh, but this show was just very, 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 very mid, very kind of eh. And there were some things that sort of highlighted uh the criticisms of AEW and the things that they continually do that sort of deflate the show, that deflate the angles, deflate the wrestlers and their pushes. It just seems like there's so much opportunity there. There's people who can do this well when given the right positioning, producing, angles, stories, and so much of it just seems to fall flat or not ever go anywhere, or or you or just be wasted. And yeah, it's not a fun show to watch. At the end of it, I had a headache, and I don't think that's a coincidence. It was just not particularly enjoyable. And I don't have a desire to hate AEW. I would love for there to be a serious competitor brand to WWE that does a different style. I don't need it to be the same style as WWE. It can be a different style, but if you're going to do a different style, just, don't constantly wink at your audience. Tell consistent stories. Anyway, I didn't love this show. I didn't necessarily hate the show. It just wasn't particularly fun or enjoyable to watch. And I was willing to sort of be entertained and I was willing to see things even if I had sort of preconceived ideas. But yeah, there's just so many glaring issues with AEW's presentation, and it's just so inconsistent. Um, and I don't know how a show like this could grow viewers. I just don't. Uh, and it's not. That's the thing. It's losing viewers. Uh, I don't know what the ratings are yet for this show, but I'm sure they weren't much over 700 if they got to 700 thousand people. And you can say it's for all these other reasons. You can believe Meltzer and whoever else and Tony Khan that it's because of this sport and that sport and this cutting the cord and all these other things. But WWE is booming, and people will watch a good show that's entertaining and that makes them care. People will watch. And the fact is they aren't. And I'm not. I do keep up from time to time when I can, but I don't watch full shows like this and probably won't again for a while. So yeah, what were your thoughts on the show? Good, bad? What were some things that you saw that you think maybe I got wrong or that you thought were really good? What were some things that maybe I missed that fell flat for you? And yeah, just overall, what was your opinion of the show and where AEW is and why AEW chooses to do television the way that they do? Um, Not much else to say. Sorry for the length of this video. It went way longer than I wanted it to, but I appreciate you watching and look forward to more videos very soon. Thanks. Bye.